I'm sitting here with Andreina.
Hi guys.
She is an entrepreneur in our area. What are a few of the things you like to do?
Yeah, so I'm a new entrepreneur
Yeah.
here in Port Coquitlam. I've been here for about 8 years, but I only started doing my own stuff recently. So I'm mainly doing a podcast called Girls Talk About Music.
Cool.
And it's a podcast that was born out of my love of music and my desire to see more women talking about music
Yeah.
essentially. I was listening to a lot of podcasts about music because I want to be a writer, and one of the topics that I love to write about is music, and I really wanted to learn a little bit more how to write, um, sort of like reviews and criticism. And I started to listen to a lot of music podcasts, and there's lots of good ones, but I couldn't find any with any women
No.
being the host or talking about their favorite music or their favorite albums. So I thought I need to hear that. I don't see myself in any of those. So that's when the idea came to me, and I decided to do it. And I started last fall. And essentially, what I'm doing is giving a voice to women, be it musicians, critics, or women in the music industry. It could be anybody who has a technical job in the industry. It could be sound engineers or light engineers or roadies or tour managers, anybody who's in the industry doing those jobs that you don't necessarily see.
Yeah.
So in front of the stage, behind the stage. Another focus of the show is talking to fans. I really want to talk to fans um, because we don't hear those voices either.
Very true.
Women talking about the music they love in all their nerdiness. We don't really get that much. Why do you love that album? Why do you go to this many concerts? Why is this your favorite artist? So I'm also looking to talk to fans.
Good. That's a very good idea.
Yeah, so I've done about I'm working on the 7th episode right now. I'm editing that right now, so it's been about an episode a month so far. But I really hope to continue for a long time. I have lots of ideas about it.
Cool.
And it's just made right here in Port Coquitlam.
Nice. Since you got into it, are you finding that you are finding more women in the industry than you thought, or less?
Oh, the women are there.
They're there.
Oh, they're there.
That's awesome.
The women are there. It's just that we don't see them necessarily.
It's not the in the spotlight job, really, though. Like it's not the artist, right? So, but it is it's probably the most important jobs in the industry are the people that actually like make that music what it is in the end. And knowing that like women have been excluded from the people that are famous doing it doesn't make any sense because like there is a ton of talented women musicians, songwriters, engineers, producers, everything, and they kind of have taken the back seat for years, and we need more people like you that can push for that promotion because I mean music is a beautiful, beautiful thing, right?
Yeah.
Music is something that everybody likes different styles and everybody uh, looks at it a different way. So it should never just be the male point of view.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You know what's important for me as well is that I'm from Venezuela originally.
Yeah.
I was born in Venezuela. I moved here when I was 19. I moved to Canada when I was 19, so it's been about 20 something years. And that difference that I see on how we consume music in Venezuela and how we consume music here in Canada has also left me with this hunger. I felt that in Venezuela we were also younger. I was also a teenager, so it was intense.
Yeah.
My experience with music was very intense. Where here it seems a little bit more casual. I mean, growing up, we didn't have a chance to see many shows.
Yeah.
Growing up, we didn't see many of the bands we love because they were from England or they were from the United States or they were from Europe somewhere. So they would not necessarily go to Venezuela. So we had this hunger for the music, for the live experience. And it's only when I moved here that I was lucky to be able to see concerts and do all of that. And I see it's a little bit of a different feeling when I go to a show. I'm so hungry. I'm so
Yeah,
desperate
yeah, yeah,
for the show. Still, 20 years later, because I didn't have that. So
yeah,
I wanted to bring that kind of approach as well. That
yeah,
perspective that I'm from Venezuela. I'm a girl. I'm a girl who loves rock, who
yeah,
loves progressive rock. So it's
yeah.
a whole different perspective that I wanted to bring that I don't see anywhere.
Yeah, that's one of my questions I was going to ask you that you answered yourself is what genre specifically got you into this? So progressive rock. We talking was did you always speak English or were you just speaking your native language and listening to English music?
Yeah,
Was that what it was?
yeah, for sure. In Venezuela, we speak Spanish, and
Yeah,
we, I don't know, in my town, Maracaibo is in the west of Venezuela, very hot place. You know, this, in the 90s, it was a rock. It's like a second wave of rock,
generation.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it was the second wave of rock between the 80s and the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, and somehow, the music that we started to listen was very sophisticated. It was all these progressive bands from England mainly, Genesis and Marillion and Yes and Eloy, all these bands from England essentially. Of course, Pink Floyd.
yeah,
So and basically we mixed everything. We listened to progressive rock, but also all rock. We listened to Iron Maiden,
yeah,
um, Metallica, Slayer, Pantera, basically all of it. Um, and yeah, the music was a way into the language for sure.
yeah, yeah,
So it was in my group of friends, we all were quite advanced because we had that interest to understand the lyrics, to
yeah,
understand what they were saying. So when I moved to Canada, I lived in Quebec first, so I
yeah.
learned French, and then we moved to Vancouver, and my husband did not speak English. So it was me. It was me with my movie and music education.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing though. That's if you're passionate about something, you can definitely use that to teach you things. Yeah, music is definitely. If I were to learn another language and I were to fall in love with a band that spoke a different language, I find that probably would resonate in your head way better than just a book or a tape that tells you like how to say this word. I think that's by far one of the best ways for it to stick is with
Yeah,
music, with film,
yeah,
with something that you're passionate about and something that you're intrigued by. If you're willing to listen to it in a different language that you're foreign to, then that is a beautiful piece of art. Like even I know with rock music in North America, there was a huge resurgence, or like just a surgence. I don't even know if it's a resurgence, but just like a surge of Scandinavian rock groups in like the early 2000s, where it was stuff either like sung in Finnish or Swedish, or like bands like Ramstein who were German, and the fans did not know a word they were technically saying, but sang every lyric, and then would go online and just do the translator and figure it out, and then finally understand what that song means, right? So it's a crazy great time then and now with the internet and being
mm,
able to kind of do your own research and on just the sound that you like, and then
yeah.
doing that more research to find out more to teach you more about that sound you like, right? You say you're also, let's get away from the music a little bit. You also are a passionate baker.
I am. I am. I've been baking essentially all my life. All my life since I was 13, pretty much. I'm 43 now, so it's been 30 years of
Yeah,
baking. But when I moved to Canada, I was 19, and mm, finding my way has been difficult, like most people.
yeah,
Finding what you really can do. I thought for a long time I should study pastry to be a pastry chef for a while. Then I studied French. I mean, there's so many things that I wanted to do, but it's been a lifelong passion for sure. And I just been doing it. And again, there's so much information online. There's so much information out there that I have been able to kind of elevate my game a little bit in the
yeah,
in recent years. My sister in California started to bake a little more. I gave her a book called the Cake Bible, and she started to use this book. She hadn't baked too much. I was the baker, but I gave her this book, and she kind of started to elevate her own game,
yeah,
and she inspired me to, okay, let's start to do, you know,
Yeah.
more sophisticated cakes or more North American style cakes. Again, my background is South American, from Venezuela, so my baking background is different.
Yeah.
The kind of sweets or cakes that we do. So it was interesting to learn about North American style of baking, which is very popular right now. You know,
Yeah.
the baking craze is like, it's huge. I
Yeah.
mean, there's nothing bigger than
Yeah, like
baking.
Instagram accounts, but
It's,
yeah, it's just
it
people
is
taking
just
pictures of their food. It's a huge thing.
it's a huge thing. I mean, so be able to find my own style within that sea of styles and talent has been very exciting. So I do have this website called the Cookie Team, because I bake a lot of cookies. I love cookies.
Yeah.
I actually will say that I love cookies more than cakes.
Yeah.
And even when I was a teenager, I was selling cookies. I used to sell cookies throughout my teens to buy my music.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I bought my first album, that was Pink Floyd, it was because I was selling cookies, so I could go buy it. Yeah. So I could go and buy Dark Side of the Moon. So that's how I got it. So I've been selling cookies for a long time. I really love the possibilities of cookies, but I do cakes as well, and all kinds of other desserts and pies. And yeah, I bake. You know, it's very much a home business, so it's just small batches, small bakes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm ready to bake.
Branch out a little bit.
But yeah, exactly. So I've done orders for big parties as well, events, birthday parties.
Nice.
It's really fun. I mean, because it's a collaborative process usually when somebody comes to you and they say, I want this flavor, or I want these colors, or I want this style. So it's really a creative process when somebody comes to you and challenges you. It's like, can you make this kind of cake, or can you make this cake in this picture? Like, oh, sure, I can do it. Yeah, but it's fun. And again, it's called the Cookie Team, and it's all made from my home, but it's high quality, and I try always to be very sort of like flavor is first for me. Flavor is number one for me, but also beautiful.
Yeah.
And anything that people want, we can work it out together.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. That is always great to go with your passions from when you were a kid too. Like, I find that people think you hit adulthood and you just got to throw your past passions away because this is what's expected of you. You have to act a certain way. You got to dress a certain way. You got to get that job. You have to, and people got to start living their inner child out and kind of putting their all into their passions, because if you do that, you can stay happy, which creates a better work ethic, which creates it's just an ongoing, it just keeps getting better and better and better if you take that initial dive. So it's really awesome to see somebody, music and food. I mean, like, what's more like satisfying than those two things? Like, literally, what's better than enjoying your favorite food while listening to your favorite music? It's nice to visually think, like when you're listening to music, be able to turn off that TV or just like visually, just like visualize music. I don't know how to explain it.
No, for sure.
It's definitely. I come from a music background too. I went to school for music production, for music theory, for music business, and yeah, there's something just about music in it, how it can be healing, how it can be, it can create bad moods, it can create good moods, it can do everything. Music can literally be used in psychology, like sessions and stuff. Music is pretty much the whole world if you think about it. Talking is music.
Yeah.
If you think about it that way, it is a type of music. It's a form of words being put together as information.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that you're saying that, because the episode that I'm working on right now, so the podcast is, I wanted to be very specific, interview a photographer who was a fan who turned photographer, or a sound engineer, or a music fan of like a hip hop fan that was also a dancer. So very specific. But then I started to explore the theme of listening to music in times like this. What does it mean? Some people can listen, some people don't listen. I particularly can't.
Yeah.
I listen to music during difficult times, so I'm trying to explore that as well.
Yeah.
What happens and how people go through grief and listen to music. So I'm doing an episode about that specifically right now. But also you said about following your passions when you were younger, and then when you grow up you're expected to act a certain way and kind of put aside all these things that you loved. And I do have a I do have a very old blog. I've had it for about 7 years, and it's called The Things You Love. Because I love to write, and I've been writing for all this time since 2013, and it was essentially born out of that. It was essentially born out of that realization that I had put aside a lot, well, essentially everything that I loved to be able to have this career, this, fulfill this expectation that is necessary, of course, to make a living. But, I grew up in Venezuela. It's a very conservative culture where these things are supposed to not be important. You're supposed to grow out of these things you love. You're supposed to grow out of your passion for music. You're supposed to grow out of your passion for movies. You're supposed to grow out of your passion for talking about these things because you're a grown-up. And I refused.
I think honestly, North America had that mindset. Like Canada had that mindset. Even my parents' generation, it was. I think it's finally this day and age with the just like the tech age we're living in now, and just what the do it yourself and like even schooling. Not saying it's not important. Education is important, but being able to do it by self education, going online and teaching yourself things, and it's more of what you do now than who you know or what you went to school for, because people don't realize when you go to university or college, you pass with a C doesn't mean you're the best person for the job, but that person at the place is just looking for that diploma at the place of work, or like that's literally how it works. So if somebody goes out of their way to teach themselves something they're passionate about, they don't have that formal education, but they're passionate about it, they actually are probably the better person for the job. So it's just, I think it's always been like that it's just that cultural thing here where it's like you graduate high school, you go to college, you become an adult, you meet somebody, you get in the job field that you went to school for, meet somebody, have a family, then you work in that job till you retire, you raise that kid, you barely see the kid because you're working a job that you're traveling to an hour each way each day, and you're working there all day, and it's just like, in reality, what's the most important things in life? It's happiness and family, and just pretty much those two things, happiness and your family. And so when they've been trying for years to kind of tell you to do these things, but then put those things also on the back burner while you're doing your 9 to 5 whatever job, it's kind of it's kind of gutless, it's kind of like it doesn't make sense. You're basically telling people that they don't know that their life is only one time thing, right? Like, even if whatever you believe outside of here, if it's you go somewhere great after this all, you still only have what you know, that we know of, one life on this world. So make the best of it. Don't throw your passions in the garbage because of a number. That's just silly. I'm finding it, like, I'm 32, but I'm finding that like there's more and more people in their 30s, kind of where it's supposed to be the time where you're like settling, and you're really like you're comfortable in that job you got in your late 20s, and you're like, I'm finding that a lot more people in their 30s now are just jumping out and saying, screw that, and we're going to do what we want to do. And I don't know if it's like a revolution now where people realize you can do it yourself, do everything yourself at home, try to monetize your passions. Even if you can't do that, still do it on your own time. If you're busy 9 to 5, you're busy, you have your job, obviously that is, you have to pay your bills. If you can't pay your bills, that's not good. So, but give yourself that little bit of time a week. Don't just stop. You're going to be that family and everything that you work so hard for to go to school, and that life you wanted, is now you're going to be pushing them away by being a grump, because you're not doing anything you like. Everybody needs an outlet of what they like. Everybody needs that time to shut their brain off and do what they like to do. Because when you like something, if you really, either you're thinking a ton or you're not thinking at all.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice because
Mm.
sometimes you need that not thinking at
Yeah, yeah, of
all.
course. Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
You
of
could just,
course, of
like,
course.
you probably have a recipe that you love that you can just, if you're stressed out, that it actually relaxes you to go make
Yeah.
that one thing. And it's
Oh,
just like that's exactly what people need, is they need
absolutely.
that outlet to calm them down, do whatever they do, realize that life is a very important thing, but maybe the things you're making seem important aren't actually important things.
Everything you've said is so true. And I think the reason that you're probably seeing more people your age, and it's my brother's age, he's 10
Yeah,
years younger, so about the same as
yeah,
you. Um, the world is changing around us, but also that in the sense that people are being unable to do more things on their own, and we're kind of pointing at the system and say this is not working for most people. We have to take this,
yeah,
we have to take the reins now because what's happening is not working for a lot of people.
yeah,
But the second thing I think is we're lucky that we live in a country like Canada and in a place like Port Coquitlam where we are, because you are able to more safely do those things. There are things in place that allow you to to do that more safely in a way. Yeah, you can have your 9 to 5, but there's programs, there's supports, there's education, there's classes, and there's also a cultural environment that kind of allows you to don't be afraid, go for it. When I was growing back, you say that your parents live that. I grew up that way, so we're a little bit behind in that sense. That I was still growing up with that sense that don't don't study anything artistic.
yeah,
You won't go anywhere, and people will make fun of And there's still a lot of great artists in Venezuela, people who did it.
yeah,
But still, it was not the smartest thing, and it took a long time. It took a long time. See, it took me
yeah,
almost more all my life to say, I can't
yeah,
go on. I can't. Exactly what you were
yeah.
describing. When I for me to say I can't go on like this. This is a one time only
It's a mental state,
chance.
man. If you're gonna put yourself in a mental burden, like a bad mental state, if you're at a job, even if you're comfortable at the job, but you go in and you're just like you're just not enjoying it, it's mentally draining. And
Mm,
I think mental health in today's age is more concentrated on than ever. And
yeah.
mental health, not in the past, if you had mental health issues, it was like you were crazy.
Yep.
But now I think people are realizing that everybody has their own type of mental health issues. It's all different how they deal with it and everything. But like, there's a
Mm-hmm.
reason why in like a certain generation, I know in Canada, there was like the 70s, 80s, and 90s and stuff. A lot of parents had alcohol abuse issues,
Mm,
all these things because they're super stressed and they need an outlet just to, they're working their asses off, going home to screaming kids, whatever, and they get those 2 hours a night to sit down, so they're drinking their night away, and then they go to sleep, and they
mm,
go to work again that they hate, and that's the constant lifestyle of what I'd say probably 80% of this country was forever. And yeah, there we
wow.
got this. The thing is, we have freedom. That's why we are. It's such a country that people want to be in.
Mm,
But give yourself that freedom.
yeah.
don't don't do it a way where you're not giving yourself any freedom. Yeah,
Mm,
it's a crazy great opportunity right now in the world where people just need to selfishly think of themselves a
yeah.
little bit, but also like just realize there's a lot of people out there that are going through the same thing when it comes to working those jobs that they're not passionate about. And just yeah, it's not something you might not be able to do anything about right now. Like you
Mm-hmm.
need to pay those bills, but just don't give up your
Yeah,
passions. Cultivate,
cultivate it. Yeah,
because
yeah. Always cultivate. Always work on it.
yeah.
Don't abandon it.
And I know,
That's
like
yeah.
you said, in Venezuela, it was very hard, like culturally, when it came to like getting a job in the arts. Like your family
Mm-hmm.
would be like, "Well, you can't, don't waste your time on that." My uncle, would be 60. I think he's 60 exactly right now. Italian, full. My dad's side of the family's full Italian. Um, my grandparents were from Italy. he wanted to get in the music industry in the 80s. And it was get a real job, get a real job. And then him and a couple of his business partners discovered Sarah McLachlan. Once he started pulling up, he still was getting that get a real job, even when they were starting to build that, like, it's not going to last forever. That's the attitude you get. And then finally, it hit to a point where it's like, it is going to last forever. And my grandfather passed away and never really got to see that. My grandma did. She's still around, and I think she's kind of proud that he did that. She's happy. That's why she's been a lot more, as an old Italian grandmother, more accepting of like me, her grandchild, getting into arts. She's just way more accepting. My grandpa wasn't, but just see like it's. I think in today's age, parents are a little bit more accepting, so people really should go and do what they want to do, because you got to think how hard it was for people that had that backlash. That's literally like they took that leap and they're like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm going to do this. I can go get a job in a factory when I'm 30 if this doesn't work out. And that's how my uncle now. I mean, after years and years of being in the music industry, the people that came through, like they're called network management, but they huge names, like huge artists throughout the Canadian music industry. They brought Coldplay to North America, like huge in the music industry. And this is somebody just saying no to their parents. And you know how hard it is to say no to your parents. It's very hard. Nothing's worse. Like, I can piss off my parents. I don't feel bad about it. If I disappoint them, different story.
Yep.
You're like, as a kid, you're meant to piss off your parents. Like, it's like kind of like they're never going to be happy, but like disappointing is a bit sore. When they just like put their head down, shake their head at you, and for you to deal with that on purpose is not easy. So like, that's an example I like using, as like a person who had it really rough that did something with their life and did it with their passions. Like, it's just for me personally, this what we're doing here is like a passion that I didn't even know I had, was podcasting until the last few years. But I come from a music background where the music kind of got stripped away from me due to losing a bunch of stuff through a break-in. So that was like my passion turned into make me angry. So we didn't have house insurance. I lost all my stuff. So finally now, like I'm it's not that I was doing a 9 to 5 and doing that stuff, but it almost made me angry even thinking about doing it. Now, finally can start getting into it again. But it was brutal. We got broken into and lost a bunch of stuff. This is like over 10 years ago. So now, being able to get into music, talk to people about music, possibly doing music again out of the studio, because it can be used as a music studio. You move the desk, you can use it as a music studio. Great. So yeah, but like music artists, interviewing them, like I find that they're the most creative individuals. They're not always just into music too. They're into so many different things. Usually they have like some kind of side hustle. Most musicians have side hustles that are like making, like I've met a lot of people that just like make merchandise or make shirt. Like a lot of musicians will have clothing companies, and a lot of music, like it is, and that's something I learned when I went to college for music, is in the music business side of it, is this is what's nice about school now, is the do-it-yourself nature to it. They don't tell you to get a record deal. They tell you to do it all yourself, because the money can be made. I don't know if your artists that you've talked to have talked to you about this at all, but like, if you can be your own producer, if you can be your own merchandise maker, if you can, that's 100% profit. Okay, and what people don't realize is back in the day when you signed that contract with a company, you are literally making like there's bands out there that were top of the Rolling Stone charts, top of the Billboard, top of everything, that couldn't even buy McDonald's because their record company was taking 95% of their income, and then they were giving like 3% to their manager. And then they got 2% split between 5 guys.
So many stories. So many stories like that. Yeah.
It's a corrupt industry, and I think that it has a lot to do with what you are talking about with your podcast, is females in the industry, and how corrupt the industry is why you don't see females in it. It's because the old dogs that have run the territory pretty much for so long, that have run those studios, like, sounds bad, until they die, they're going to be running those studios. So I'm telling like anybody, male or female, do it yourself at
Wow.
your home, at a studio. You know that you build here if you want, but like do it yourself. Don't sign off your passion to somebody that's gonna kill
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. I how many so many stories. The story of your uncle
Yeah,
is fascinating because it takes the one person right in the
yeah,
family to kind
yeah.
of break that
That mold.
the mold, right? And
Yeah,
then there here you are,
yeah,
inspired by him. That's
yeah,
and then
yeah,
you, if
yeah,
somebody that is listening here, they do that,
yeah,
they will be the model or the inspiration for a friend or for a family member down the line. That's
yeah.
that
And more
courage,
likely,
yeah.
like I always have, like if you have friends with parents that did those jobs that are considered more fun, and people always think like, oh, like a musician is would be a fun job, and it's only because those people are passionate. They make it fun.
Yeah.
There could be a musician who plays the same gig every week that he hates it
Mhm.
because he signed for that gig and he plays covers of a band he hates because that's what's requested of him, right? So it's don't take that passion and just sign it off into something because you think that's all. I'll just take anything with this.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do with it. Don't let somebody control. This is like that's. I think this is life right now. Don't let everybody control your passions because the worst thing I'll talk from experience is coming from talking about a lot of what we've been talking about on my wrestling podcast because I was a pro wrestler for years, and you have people. It's a political business, so
Mhm.
when you have one person that can kill people's passions, that's I feel life right now, and I feel like
Mm.
people have their passions killed all the time from letting other
Oh.
people control them. So
Huh.
go out with your passions,
Yeah.
be promote yourself hard, do what you want to do with your life. Obviously, if you have to make money, go make your money,
Yeah.
but also take that breather and mentally give yourself that cleanse where you know you're doing something you
That's
love.
amazing advice because it's about integrity and it's about protecting what you're creating, protecting your talent.
Yeah,
Like you're saying, protect, don't give it away to somebody.
yeah,
You know its value, right? You
yeah,
knew your value as a pro wrestler.
yeah,
A musician knows that their songs are good. I
yeah,
know my podcast is good. I mean, protect that,
yeah,
and of course, be smart if
yeah,
you're gonna promote it and monetize because
yeah,
it does have value.
yeah.
So don't give it to somebody who will just sell it for.
And sell away the things that you have to do, not that you want to. So,
Mm.
like, if you have a passion, let's say it's graphic design, and you work for a company making whatever you do, like you're just slapping a sticker on something. So, you're basically putting their logo, and that's your job. Don't stop if it makes the money, but don't make that all you do.
Yeah.
And that's I've seen it with friends in the graphic design world, in these other worlds that almost give stuff up because they're like, this is what I wanted to do and now I hate it. No,
Mm.
what you're doing 100% of your time is what you hate. If you still take that, even if it's 5% of your time to do what you like, you'll still like it again.
Yeah.
And I find that literally every industry you go down the line, that's every industry.
Yeah.
If you enjoy, if you're let's say you build things, but you like building this style of house, and you work for a company that only builds them this way.
Yeah.
Maybe if you need to pay the bills, keep doing that, but definitely still try to go. But it's just we've talked to an architect that's been here, and there's been this old rule of architecture where it's like old schools will teach you have to do it this way, you have to do it this way, and then it's like you break that mold and you want to build a building a different way, do it.
Mm.
Who cares what the other people say? There's going to be somebody that is in love with that style. And now you've created a portfolio for people that would like what you like, not what this guy tells you what you need to like.
Yeah.
And I think this generation's breaking that wall down of
Oh.
do what you like, talk about what you like, just don't let people control every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
When you're going home from the job you hate, thinking about those few hours you have at home from that job you hate, and all you're doing is thinking about going into work the next day,
Oh.
that is too much of this population.
Yes. Yes.
So
I have a saying. And I did love the job that I had before, but it was time to do something different. When you when Sunday night
Yeah.
you're relaxed and happy,
Yeah.
it means that you're in the right place.
Yeah.
Because you're not afraid of your next day.
Yeah.
You're happy of your next day. So
Yeah.
do something that on Sunday night
You still.
you're relaxed and you're happy and you're in a good place because you're happy of what you're gonna be doing the next Monday or whatever your first day
Yeah.
is. I think that's a good sign. And I want to say too, I'm a little older than you, like we already
Yeah.
mentioned, but I have such admiration for your generation for being so courageous and brave and taking the initiative of saying owning their talent, owning their time, and being smart about it. I have such huge admiration of everything you're saying because it does take courage. It
Yeah.
does take to say, I don't think this is working. I think I'm gonna do it my way.
Yeah.
And don't let life pass you by.
Yeah.
Do it as soon as you are ready.
Yeah.
Because I waited a long time.
It doesn't matter though, because you'll be like, it's everybody has to do that point in their life of doing stuff they don't want to do.
Yeah, no,
choose
for sure.
where it is. Just choose where it is, because that's what people don't understand now too is the luxury of retirement is kind of out the window for a lot of people now. You, even if you're working that job that used to cover you and you get a good pension and stuff in Canada, now it seems like people are working till their very ending day because you can't even retire. So it's like, maybe instead of taking the last 10 years of your life to do what you like to do when you can't even do anything anymore, go and move that back a bit.
Yeah.
Because if you have to work for the rest of your life anyways, do something you want to do. Don't do something that you hate, because it's just, I find this it's this generation is, it's not just this generation that's doing it. I think it's partially your generation too, because I feel the generations before that, it's not their fault, but it was a good time. It was like a pinnacle of job opportunity.
Absolutely.
And you can go and walk into a place and get that $70,000-$80,000 a year job just walking in. And the thing what's basically kicked this everybody else that's younger in the ass is those people aren't retired yet.
Yeah.
So they still have those jobs.
Yeah.
So all these people are going to school for 8 years in university, coming out and making minimum wage. And that's where people are like, I can't do this. I'm going to do my own thing. I don't want to go slave myself away for minimum wage for something I went to school for 8 years for.
Yeah.
I've seen many more people that have dedicated their time to schooling. And it's not me saying bad things about schooling, because it is really key, but the system is corrupt. So it's like, you go to school for all these years, they tell you get a diploma, and then you go and try to find work in that field, and there's no work for you. That's not a good thing.
No, it's not a good thing. No. Yeah, me too. I am all for university. I studied for a long time as well. I love academia, actually. I do love all of that world, and I believe deeply in it. But it is disheartening, of course, when you put all that effort and what's there at the end. So yeah, I think people have to be very smart and very never forget that integrity. I mean, what is important for you? What are your values? What do you value? What kind of life do you want to have? Young people, when they don't have a lot of experience or what they have seen, and I'm just talking about here in North America, which is what I know, or South America, they study things that they think will give them, stability and money, that they will have a good life. And that's the reason they study that, not necessarily because they love it. And that's a little bit sad. So what's important is, before you put all that effort, really think about your values, what kind of life you want to have, and can you have that life with this kind of work? And being smart about that. How can you be a podcaster, or how can you have a business and still have this life? Do you need the $3 million house? No, perhaps you can have a beautiful life with this small home or renting, so
priorities.
There's so much information around us telling us how we should live. And I think that's important part of the equation when you're deciding what to do. If you're able to do what you love, you have to kind of have silence around you and say, okay, do I need this lifestyle, or perhaps I do only
What
need.
do I actually need to be
What do I
happy?
actually need to be happy? I
Yeah.
mean, define it.
Yeah.
Define that. It could be that you love living on a sailboat,
Yeah.
and that should be okay. And
Yeah.
your life and your job will give you enough so that you do that. Not everybody has to live in a condo in a 20th floor,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I think that's important when people are deciding, should follow my passion or not.
Yeah.
Well, decide what's going to be most important for you. Of course, everybody has to pay their dues. I believe that very much. I'm an immigrant. I worked every job.
Yeah.
So you do have to do jobs that you
Yeah.
don't like. You will have to do jobs that are hard, that are, soulless. We all have to pay our dues.
It's part of life.
Part of life. But hopefully, if you are lucky enough, and I think this is also essential when we're talking about passions and following your passion, is some people are very lucky to understand their passion when they're young.
Yeah.
And some people are not, right? And that's okay.
Yeah.
Some people might know what they love at 15 or at 20. Some people might not know until they're 35.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We're all different.
Yeah.
So it's fine. But once you find it,
yeah.
oh God, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Because the hard part is saying, what do I want to do for real?
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest question to answer.
And you're asking 17-year-old kids to decide that.
And they don't know, right? So I think if somebody young, very young, is listening to us, and you are lucky, and that you love, I don't know, making surfboards, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
You got the most important answer in your hands. Go do it.
We've met a few kids that have been interested in our space here. One guy being a videographer that we talked to him, and if you talked to him, you'd think he was like he's been doing it for years. He'd be 40. The guy, he was 18 years old. He had his own company of videography, like doing weddings and doing different. And it's just like, and the way he talked is just, it was so professional. And the only reason it sounded professional coming out of an 18-year-old kid is because he knew what he was talking about and he was passionate about it. And so he came off very knowledgeable. It doesn't matter. That's why age doesn't freaking matter if you have passions, because passions will drive you to know everything about that. Also with failure, like people being scared of failure. Well, failure is a part of life. You're going to fail at some things, no matter what. At different points of your life, you're going to fail. So what are you going to be okay with failing at more? If you fail at a job that you hate, that'll make you hate it even more. Anytime you fail at it, you feel like an idiot. You get degraded by, let's say you have a boss, you fail, and you just feel like crap. You go home, you feel like crap. What do you do with a passion if you fail at something you're working on that you're passionate about? You keep working on it, and you try to fix it. And it's actually kind of challenging and it can be frustrating at the moment, but once you solve it, it's so rewarding. When you fix something at something you don't give a about, is it rewarding? Yeah. It's not. And so when you're literally, you could be doing something good, you could be doing something bad. If the same outcome comes out of it, you don't care. So I feel like people don't realize how much going for what you're passionate about, or just continuing to do it on some kind of basis where it clears your mind and you're allowed to do it. It'll make you better at every aspect of life. It doesn't matter what it is. If you need that outlet to go to the gym once a week just to get some aggression out, if there's like all these things that you need to do to keep your mind level, like just keep yourself sane. Because it's a really crazy time in the world right now. It's an extremely crazy time because you don't know who to believe on anything. It doesn't matter if it's media. It doesn't matter if it's politics. It doesn't matter if it's this. Either you're trying to be separated from your friends, like basically not just with COVID, but just like opinions now. You can't be friends if you have difference of opinion. And that's not how life works. You should be able to be friends with people that have plenty of different opinions, but you like their company. Yeah. And there's something going on in today's world where if you have a difference of opinion, they're trying to separate people and make them enemies. And it's not good. So this is where we're talking about podcasting and going along with your passions, and also just like podcasting and self media and independent media being so key is because it's actually coming from people. It's coming from people that just are speaking their opinions and knowledge that they have. It's not somebody feeding them this to say this, that somebody fed this guy to say this to this. It's like when you it's just that story changes. It'll go down a list and it'll change every time. You're not getting the real information. So I think this do-it-yourself generation on all aspects, independent news, independent radio, those the people just going on to Spotify. Like there's people out there that literally create playlists that make, from what I understand, they make almost as much as artists do because they create playlists that become, they're so nichey and so popular that the person that's making just a playlist of music that other people like are making money. So that's like it's just go and
that's crazy.
Just you don't realize what doing what you're passionate about can do for you. Little things can do for you, and how sometimes your passions could be super easy to do because you enjoy to do it. And a person that doesn't have that interest in it, it is like Einstein, like hard. That's what I've learned with people coming in here. With the podcasting, it can be simple as press record for some people, and then it could be the most difficult thing you could ever do. Talk on a microphone, talk in front of people, press a button, work with technology. Like everybody is different. Everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it would be amazing. Where this world could be is if people start to understand their flaws, understand what they're not good at, to find either work on it or find somebody else that may not be good at what you do, and you guys can work together now and bring those, because nobody is good at everything. There's people that are good at a lot of things, but you might think they're good at everything that you want to be good at. But they might suck at something that you are great at, right?
Yeah. That's so true. I so agree with you, especially about media and being a woman and a woman that's in her 40s and that has an accent and is an immigrant. I do love newspapers and the media, but the power is concentrated among a small group.
Yeah.
Who's gonna tell your story?
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody wants to tell their story, but if you do want to tell it in any way, shape, or form that you want to be music or podcast or writing, we're living in a time where we don't have to ask permission anymore to do this, and this is the beauty of our times.
Yeah.
Again, not everybody wants to tell their stories, but if you do, you can do it because nobody else is gonna grab you by the hand and I'm going to tell your story. That's just not going to happen.
That's why you got a lot of journalists and stuff stepping away from their jobs that they do for big corporations and are just doing they got a name for themselves through those things, and now they're writing about what they want to write about, write about topics they want to write about things they would be scared to write about if they put it in the National Post or put it in the province or you have guidelines you have to follow by, and doesn't matter, politics rule the world. It's screwed. I personally can't stand politics. They drive me up the wall, but they control the world, and whoever's these political parties that run these stations are obviously going to promote what they want you to hear. And I think it's a very scary time because there's a lot of serious issues obviously in this world, but we really want real information, and it's really nice to hear real people talking about stuff, not what it seems like just a handbook being given to you that was written by somebody that was basically given a guideline that they had to say. So I think it's a revolution of its own. Obviously, the states are totally different with everything. Like when it comes to COVID, if it comes to race down there, I think Canada's on a different level. It's here. It is here. We do have problems, but I think we're a little bit more accepting of differences in Canada, and we're a lot less cliquey when it comes to you'll have conservative and liberal friends that are friends with each other. You'll have immigrants and non-immigrants being friends with each other. The States is so separated, and it has a lot to do with the media making it seem like you're supposed to be.
It's a different world.
It's a whole other topic we could talk about forever. But I've really enjoyed talking to you. I would love for you to come in more. the whole interviewing women in that industry, in the music industry, is a very cool concept to me
Thank
because
you.
it's a, a industry that I'm passionate about, and I've seen it personally on a personal level. It being male dominant. So yeah, I would love to see it be at least balanced on the music side.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're getting there. I think we're getting there, and it has to start with empowering empowering the people who are already there.
Yeah.
I mean, you have big names who are still denouncing how
Yeah.
they're not treated the same way. You have
Yeah.
amazing artists who are still telling stories of how
Yeah.
about how they were treated. So imagine the young girl in the
Yeah.
room, right? How hard it's gonna be for her. But
Yeah.
thankfully, I think I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I think with the Me Too movement and just bringing
Yeah.
awareness to all this thing, I think that that young girl in her bedroom making music, I think her story is gonna be a little bit
Yeah.
different. I mean, there's this, yeah. I think it's just that we can't let our guard down. We
No,
just
no, you gotta keep going,
you
man.
gotta you have to keep
You
going.
have
But
to keep going.
I am hopeful. I am hopeful that um is changing. There's especially technology is allowing so many
So
people to do what they do.
yeah.
We're just getting instructed
Yeah.
by the kids, right?
Yeah.
They're just so talented. They know so much. So I'm hopeful. Still from my generation, there's we've our lived experience was silence.
Yeah.
So I'm just
Yeah.
gonna from here until I go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna talk.
Yeah, well, I mean, it can't. It's definitely the time to talk,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
put problems out there. It's every industry. I know. Obviously, the music industry has gone through it. I like big cases like Kesha and stuff where her,
Yes.
and then like also like sports always have like women fighting for equality in pay.
Mm.
When it comes to the industry I came from with wrestling, they're going through their own thing. It's called the speaking out movement, and it's kind of
Oh.
it's like a it's what's actually that's why I'm doing like my wrestling podcasts have been going on for like 2.5 hour podcasts is because I'm talking to local wrestlers about the speaking out movement that started off as a sexual harassment claim from like a bunch of women around the world about wrestling promoters that have like tried to because people know wrestling is a show.
Yeah.
It's basically live action stunt work. It is fake is what like people like to call it, but it's like a live drama. And so when you're a female act is coming up young and being told, oh, you gotta wear this because it's sexy, or you have to, or if you like show a little bit more skin, then I'll give you a better booking.
Mm.
And that's huge, and so that's being outed right now, and that's
Mm.
obviously the movie industry with guys like Harvey Weinstein, and like that stuff has been real forever, and women had to
Mm-hmm.
deal with it. Well, now luckily, it's changing on the mainstream side of it, where these guys are getting outed on the mainstream side,
Mm.
but it's also created a point where women don't want to work with these idiots that are
Mm-hmm.
still around, yet they can do it themselves.
Yes.
Do it from home. Do it from studios you want to work with, people you're comfortable with. You
Mm.
don't have to sign your contract. Like 10 years ago, every artists were still looking for that contract,
Mm.
still looking for that big money deal, and now people are outing those. Like when you're Kesha and you're release an international #1 song, and you're saying that your producer molested you, all this stuff, and took all your money, and you still got people in the music industry siding with him.
Mm.
That's a screwed up system,
Yeah.
and that's just 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's finally I think given the ability of like that's not the only option now. So I think like for all those girls, it happens to men too, but like all those little
Yeah.
girls that dream to be artists and all in the past might give that dream up because of these stories they're hearing,
Yes.
might keep those passions and keep them going because they can do it themselves and they don't have to deal with that. Work with who you want to work with, or work with yourself, or just keep grinding. There's ways out there. Sometimes you have to pay a little money to create a name for yourself by ads or whatever, but do it yourself. Your sanity is worth more than any dollar you can make or give.
Yeah.
Sanity and
Yeah, your safety.
Respect
Yeah,
your
your
respect.
security.
Like
Yeah.
it's a sick. There's so many sick-minded people running so many industries
Ah,
that you just gotta forget they exist by not doing it, not going for them anymore.
yeah.
Not just yeah, of course it sounds great to get that record deal, but like
Mm.
do your research. There's ways now.
I love what you're saying, and just to I guess to finish, my podcast, humble as it is, I want it to be a safe place,
Yeah,
um, a safe place for conversations. Tell me those stories, a safe place where we can talk,
yeah,
women, about something that we love, which is music, because in my experience, even talking wasn't safe
yeah,
because our opinion is not important. We're not knowledgeable enough, so even talking wasn't safe. So
yeah,
my podcast is for women to feel safe about what they're doing, about what they love, and I think it's so necessary. Of course, we need male allies. Of
yeah,
course, this is essential. Otherwise, we can't improve anything. We need men to step up as well and,
yeah,
and help make these industries safe
yeah,
for everybody,
yeah,
men, women, transgender, everybody. These
yeah,
industries should, this, we're talking about sports and art
yeah,
industries. Everybody has to step up to make them safe
yeah,
for everybody, so everybody can see themselves going into that,
yeah,
right? I want to be a pro wrestler, and
yeah,
you feel safe
yeah,
because you see how the women in the industry
yeah,
are gonna protect you and are gonna have your back, but the men as well. So for my podcast, I also wanted to have that. We are out
yeah.
there. Let's work together. Let's collaborate. We have each other's backs.
And
Even,
that's what
yeah,
we need.
it's so
We
important.
need it, and we need you need that initial like that movement of like women coming up and talking to you, talking to other people, working like basically showing that they're there, and it's gonna happen where one day like you have to go with this like women, women, women to get to a point where it doesn't matter what sex you are, that it's your what you do as your job, whoever's better at it. So that this is where like it's you have to fight for what you are, and to a point where it gets not to a point where you're trying to push the other people out.
Mm,
It's to be just considered for those same roles. It doesn't matter
exactly.
what like I said, what sex you are, and come up where it's just like, oh, she's a woman producer or she's a woman engineer. No, she's a producer. She's an engineer. She's this.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a woman thing. You don't have to be a man. You don't have to be transgendered. You don't have to be. None of that matters. Like it's just your work.
That's right. That's right.
And so,
Yeah.
but you need this initial like, hey, we're here, we're
Exactly.
here.
Exactly. We're not there yet where we
Yeah,
can just use the, yeah, exactly. But we will get there.
it's.
We
I think
we
it's
are I think we are way on our way, I think.
uh,
And
on every level of everything. I think it's luckily moving up in every industry because of the problems in big industries,
mm,
even the industries that are impacted but aren't essentially in the limelight about it. They've had to change their act
mm,
just because of the big entertainment industries going through this thing that like everyday humans see that everyday like everyday civilization around the world will see this and change themselves in their industries, and that's what we need. We need it. Doesn't matter sex, race, anything. Like you just have to just kind of start looking at people as people. I guess my joke is with everything that's going on in the states with race and everything. What humans in this world need right now are aliens. It sounds hilarious, but we need aliens because as soon as an alien race comes, what do we become?
oh yeah, we're
Humans.
united.
No race anymore. It's just we're human race.
Well, I will say we will be together in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a second
Yeah.
will we be in shape.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, to
Oh
fight
no,
those aliens.
yeah, you have to find those
Exactly.
aliens.
I know, but it's just history, and
Yeah,
it's complex, and I think this year is 2020 is teaching us a huge lesson, and if we
yeah,
don't come out better on the other side, well, that's a huge missed
yeah. We
opportunity.
don't deserve to even
We
be
don't
here then.
deserve it to learn
They
anymore
call it
because,
2020 vision. That's just funny to me. Like when you see something clearly, it's 2020
well, there you
vision.
have it.
So it's like, is this been a plan? Like,
It,
is this like a something written in the history books where it's like, okay, 2020 comes, you're really gonna have to see your vision because you are gonna, as soon as you get comfortable, oh, here's something new, and
Here's
and it's just, I feel
Hmm.
like it's yeah. But yeah, I think we should probably wrap this up. It goes on forever. You can tell when you're talking to another podcaster because we can talk forever about these issues. Uh, but I really have enjoyed you being here. If you want to talk again, we can talk again.
Anytime.
Come in. Just we have the studio. We're trying to build our members up. Obviously, so it's not booked as much all the time as we'd like it, but it's open, and I'm working in here constantly. So if you ever feel like you want to come in and just talk, if you have a guest you want to bring in here, talk about logistics about it. Like, I don't mind if you ever wanted to talk to people together because I find you very good personality for this. So giving you an outlet to talk is definitely
Thank you
something
so
I'd love to
much.
do.
It's an awesome space. I
Yeah,
love what you guys are doing.
cool.
Like, and right here in Port Coquitlam is
Yeah,
amazing. That's all I have to say.
I live in Maple Ridge now, but I grew up the hill
Yeah.
in Coquitlam. And I went to school for music, like I said. And when I was in college, if I wanted to do something in a professional studio, I had to go to Vancouver, pay outrageous rates, worry about parking, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Or I'd go to these places that had no business taking my money because they weren't professional. And it's just, and that was like the only place, like I had to go to New Westminster for a studio that I didn't think was that great. And this area has never really had. It's like, it's funny. Tri-Cities are so art based, but they don't cater to the arts. Port Moody kind of does by calling themselves City of the Arts, and they put on like festivals and stuff. But really, we don't have like hubs for artists to go to. Like, this is what we're trying to build here. It's like, no matter
Very
what
true.
your art is, come in here, meet other artists. People don't realize how much artists do for everyday civilization sanity. Looking at a painting on your wall, to listening to music, to watching the movie, to that's all art. And I feel like people always think arts are like the floating subjects in school, where people are like, oh, they take acting because it's an easy A or whatever, and people don't realize, no, it's like those people are actually keeping everybody sane.
Yeah. That's a whole another conversation. The value of art, but amazing space. It's amazing here. I will say for everybody, it's really a great space.
Great to
hear. Sounds amazing.
So yeah, you drop your website again. It's
yeah. So I have three projects. Let's put it that way. So my podcast is Girls Talk About Music, and it does have a website, but I mainly communicate through my Instagram. It's just at Girls Talk About Music, so you can find me there. And you can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Right now, not every platform, but the three main ones. So you can listen to it there. I also have my baking. It's called The Cookie Team. And the website is Instagram is at The Cookie Team, and I can provide the website after, and then I have my blog where I write, because that's my main focus is writing. And it's called The Things We Love.
Awesome.
The Things We Love.
Okay, I'll put them up on the video. You guys will see it. And then it's been great talking to you, Andreina.
Great talking to you, Mike. Cool. Thank you so much for having me.